All right, let's do this. First of all, just for everyone listening in, this gonna be full of laughs because we are both like giddy today.
I didn't think we realized we had much in common as I do.
We really do, you guys. I just found out that Brenda, basically, her hometown is where I currently live, where my kids go to school, like everything. And as we're going up the elevator, I'm like, wait, what? You're from there? So now I'm just like, my world has been exploded.
K through 12.
Well, before we jump in and get into the details, I want to start at the beginning because a lot of people in the Sidewalker community are creators, right?
Yes.
We got people in all walks of life, all ages, all locations, everything. You got everything here. Our listeners are varied. And I think a big thing that a lot of my travel lovers, they come to the table, they're hungry, they're young. They're like, I want to travel, Nina. I want to travel. I want to create content and I want to travel. Oh, should I be a flight attendant? Like I've heard this narrative a lot, these questions about, is getting into aviation, right? Like being a flight attendant, is that a great way for me to break into the travel scene?
Yes.
Okay, so let's talk about it because I want to really,
It just started to look like what you think it's going to look
well, let's talk about that too. But let's talk about for the young people listening in, young or old, whatever, it's not an age thing, but the people that want to travel and want to think about entering a flight attendant world to get that goal of travel, but they also want to shoot it. They want to share it. I want to capture content. Let's talk about it.
I mean, not to toot my own horn, but I think the cool thing about what I did in the aviation space and what I have continued to do is I've just been having my own way, right? So I'm naturally a creative. It took me probably like 10 or 15 years of like doing this as a side hustle, as like a whatever, to realize like, girl, you are literally like doing productions like for no reason. Nobody asked you to do this. You're selling this out. And how I looked at being a flight attendant was an opportunity for me to learn more about the world and express myself and figure out what entrepreneurial path that I wanted to take.
Did you just wake up and say, I want to be a flight attendant or I love traveling? How did you get in this?
So I didn't even, and this is interesting because like I grew up traveling a lot, and there was a period, like a year of my life where I was on a plane almost every Friday going up to New York or down to Haiti to see my mom or my dad. They're business people, so like, I was hopping around.
Yeah.
And I didn't consider becoming a flight attendant until I think 2013. And my best friend's brother's best friend's girlfriend. Shout out to Nelly. Her brothers, that's how I found out. She was the first flight attendant I had ever met in real life.
You need to kind of almost meet someone to be like, yo, is this good? Like,
to make it possible. Yeah. And this is why like I understand and I take so seriously the role that I take like as flight bay and like just my overall initiative to get more minorities and women into the aviation space, because I don't know how I'd never considered it. Looking back, it was so obvious, but it's just like, no, I had just never met a flight attendant. I never saw or knew or heard of anybody who was in that career. So when I met her and I looked at her life and I looked at, what she had going on, I was like, yo, I want to be an entrepreneur, but I don't want to struggle. I don't like to struggle. And I can see how this would work great for my entrepreneurial pursuits.
Yeah.
So my intention before becoming a flight attendant was always to launch my own projects. At that point, I had, started my second or third business.
So did you enter aviation being like, I want to travel, but I also want to build, flight bay or whatever at the same
It wasn't,
time?
I wanted to build a business. I didn't think it was going to be anything aviation related.
Okay.
I thought what I was going to gain from being a flight attendant was more worldview. I was too green.
Got it.
I didn't have enough experience. I didn't know a lot. And I was like, who's always traveling? It's businessmen, it's professionals. I'm going to learn about industries, routes, trends. And so I came in with the intention to start a business.
And when did social pop off for you? Like, when did social enter Instagram? When did Instagram enter the conversation?
See, that's funny because, like, I think...
Because it entered the conversation.
It did, but I've always, like, not for nothing, y'all, I've been lit.
Yeah.
So... and I'm an OG IGer. I got on... Okay, so, not to date myself, y'all, but, like, to date myself, I got on Instagram in 2010.
Yeah.
So they were coming to campuses and recruiting like college students to sign up, and they were bullying me on Twitter. Shame on y'all. And I was like, forget this. I'm going to this photo app because like I wanted to be a fashionista blogger. Back then, what I wanted to be, I wanted to be two things. I wanted to be a business owner and a socialite and a lawyer. And right, because think about it, where I grew up, where your kids are now growing up, there's a particular air, and I'm sure like you're kind of seeing it a little bit, right? So I've always been privy to what socialites and, you know, social women and what that looks like and like how they can make an impact and like be glamorous while doing it. And I just didn't see anybody who looked like me doing it. Essentially, like in the 90s, girl, please. I saw my mom, and my mom was eating that up. She loved it. Yes. But I was like, okay, cool. I'm just going to be a second iteration of my mom just in this space. So I 100% came into being a flight attendant with the intention to build something. Now, did I know what I was going to build? Absolutely not. And did I think it was going to be something so focused on aviation? Absolutely not.
And that's just part of the plan, y'all. You can't plan everything, right? I think that's just a part of entrepreneurship.
Openness,
yeah.
And also like you have to, everybody's journey is their own. So you really need to recognize where your talents are. I think very early on, just watching my dad be an entrepreneur and building his businesses, and then also like getting out into the school programming, that will be, you know, we had such great school programming. So like I got access to so many, and I saw so many different lives. I just had to choose which life I wanted for myself, and travel had always been a big part of my life. So like I started traveling. I had been traveling well before it became a trend. Matter of fact, while I was a flight attendant is when I saw traveling become a trend, because we started to see younger travelers and solo travel, things that were not normal for, you know, I guess, life.
When you are entering this world as a flight attendant or someone listening, a potential flight attendant, because this community is so creator-centric, can they be posting? Like, what's the social media, like, kind of the pitfalls, so to speak, of the social media world in this space? And I want to talk about it because, again, I think that it's just making it easy for people who want to go travel, but also make sure travels.
I think right now with traveling and influencing becoming so mainstream, a lot more people are considering becoming a flight attendant, thinking that they'll use that position in order to build their platform.
Yes.
I would say before 2020 and definitely before TikTok, that was definitely a viable course of action. That's no longer the case. I knew that these tides would turn. So even 8 years ago, when I started on this journey of entrepreneurship, I have an extensive legal and marketing background. I knew that there were certain T's and I's that I wanted crossed and dotted, so that I wouldn't get caught up in the rapture. And what does the rapture look like? You're going to see, and you have seen, a huge decline in flight attendant YouTubers.
I have. I've seen that huge decline in flight attendant Instagrammers too.
Yeah, because they're getting fired. Like, it's a reality now. To become an influencer is to essentially put you on the chopping block to lose your job. Now,
and this is, so I did an interview recently with NBC. They called me in because someone else in another industry, lawyer or something or other, had an influence, and they were like, no, like, you cannot be doing this. You can't.
Was it Edney? Yes. I saw that, and I was like, I would have commented so bad.
I commented on that because in a way that was like, how are you going to fire people from a retention standpoint? You're going to lose staff. You're going to lose valuable, smart candidates, right? Because now you're making people choose between entrepreneurship and, you know.
Let me choose, baby.
Yeah, that's the thing.
Because I bet on me every time.
That's the thing, and people will. And that's why there's probably a lot of, like you said, YouTubers and stuff.
So I think the flight attendant sector, I'll say this. This has been such a hot button issue, and like this has been, especially me being flight bay and having such a large platform, all the things. There were so many loopholes and caveats that I specifically fell into and that I created for myself to safeguard me from a lot of these things. So early on, when I started doing press, I would never do press because I was a flight attendant. I would get press and be able to do press because I was the owner of Crew Connect. And by that point, Crew Connect became the first company incubated by Vector 90, which is owned by David Gross and Nipsey Hussle. So
wait, pause. Everyone listening. She was able to leverage this, like, even from a media's perspective. She wasn't coming in saying, hey, I'm coming on behalf of airline or airline.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
It was the founder of Crew Connect.
Right.
So whether you're a flight attendant or you're in any other industry, this idea of separating yourself, building your own identity, your own business.
To build your own. And then the thing is, another reason why the flight attendant content was, it's advantageous because it's like, it's going to do numbers, it's going to do views, right? But another thing that I had to make a choice early on is like, I knew I wasn't going to be a flight attendant vlogger. I was like, I would watch the videos, and while I loved them and I thought they were so cool and like they really showed what our lifestyles look like, I was like, ooh, I can see like a performance development here. HR can be calling you about this later. And within the aviation sector, it's a very nuanced, especially like if you're a unionized airline or not, makes a huge difference, because like I'll see girls who are at unionized airlines doing certain things. I'm like, definitely couldn't do that. Then I see girls who are at non-unionized airlines, and they just like Qatar Airways, those flight attendants will never post in uniform. Like, they will not happen. You will be...
That's interesting.
Their standards are so high.
I wonder how this will roll out in 5 years, 10 years. Because again, I look at this, and not for nothing, I don't look at this as an aviation thing. I look at this as lawyers who work at law firms.
This is a professional thing.
So
That's how at the Black Travel Summit, I originally pitched, because like, this is such a hot button issue within the aviation sector. Like, I created an online course to like help them figure out like the do's and don'ts. And as I was fleshing it out, I had to pick a topic to speak at the Black Travel Summit, I really went, because I feel like what I can uniquely speak to at length and at depth to is what it's like being a professional and building your social media platform.
And that's what people
so incredibly important, because like now I'm like, dang, so many people who came to that talk, they weren't aviation professionals. They were teachers, they were researchers. And I was like, hey, let's meet HR, call me.
Yeah.
If HR is on your line, call me. I have a lawyer for you.
Yeah.
Like,
It's true though.
And these are things that I just knew, because again, I come from a legal background. So when the HR people or whatever, like for example, with me, one of the loopholes that I gave you guys is I never early on, now you guys know me as Flight Bay, right? But for the first 5 to 6 to 7, Flight Bay, I want to say got popular in 2020.
Okay.
I have been doing work since 2015 in this particular space, as far as helping to improve the mental health and wellness of aviation professionals. So I had already built my brand and my business to be a service to my community, independent of my airline. I never was like, oh, like I'm a Spirit. Like I tell you guys, I fly for Spirit now because you guys make jokes about like, oh, Flight Bay would never fly Spirit. Funny you should ask.
Yeah.
There would be no Flight Bay without Spirit.
I love that.
Yeah, and it's just to show you, like, and this is, I say that, and I say that with pride, because I want people to take whatever job, if you're interested in getting into the aviation sector, take whatever job with whatever company's hiring. You can always transition, you can always pivot, because it's not the same as other industries.
Sorry, go ahead.
From a professional standpoint, the things that I saw and what I'm seeing, I kept calling it, stop telling people where you work. Stop.
Yeah.
Stop incorporating and using things that your employer provides. That can be something as simple as the Wi-Fi.
Wow.
Check your employment contracts, because now they're sneaking in their employment contracts anything that you build. Like anything that you build while you're working for that company, they can have a portion of it depending on how it's written. Wow. Understanding what you can and cannot disclose. So for example, there's certain things that I will not discuss as a working flight attendant, right? Because it's a security risk. And I know you guys mean well, but like you have to look at it also from a business perspective. What a huge liability.
Of course.
This person is like clocking in, and instead of like doing your safety duties, like in the flight attendant sector, it's life and death, and you're joking.
Yeah,
you're doing it.
And I think it hurts brand credibility too.
It hurts brand credibility, because now
maybe that's why someone like you said, Qatar, their girls will never be caught in uniform, but maybe that helps create this luxury appeal.
I get it. I can see both sides, because and this is why I have super respect. Like I have respect for both sides. I just want you guys as creators to be smart. Yeah, I didn't get to my position and like without being savvy and being strategic and also understanding what my social media policies are. If you are looking to like dive into this realm and you are a professional, whether that be a doctor, a lawyer, a teacher, you need to map out what it is that this pathway looks like. And it only should be a pathway that you embark on if you plan to do this full time.
So let's talk about strategic, because that's the first thing I asked you, or when we asked you about your uniform.
Oh yeah.
And the first thing you told me, you're like, this is strategic, baby.
Yeah, so I'm like...
This is like your signature thing. So for those of you who don't know Brenda, she is, now you'll go on her Instagram and look at her content. what she's wearing on today's podcast is a big part of her brand.
Yeah.
Right? It's like a branding tool.
Yeah.
And I love that because I'm all about branding and I love thinking about this.
Yeah.
I don't know. Interesting enough, I always wear bright colored blazers. I always wear like travel sort of colors. Like, you know, I have my work wardrobe and then my day, but this is a whole other level. Let's talk about the strategy, the intention, how you came up with this, how it like served you in your business.
I'm an intentional queen. I don't do anything like by accident. I really don't. And we have very similar approaches. Like I believe in strategy and a game plan. And this has like been like, I guess like 10 years in the making, like Flight Bay. But I never thought it would have been Flight Bay. I thought it would have been like I would have been more popular for Crew Connect.
Okay.
I just, y'all, don't worry. I'm going to like, once I really get established, like I'm going to bring Crew Connect back so we can bring that back.
Yeah.
But I thought that was going to be my claim to fame. And then one day, like I tripped and fell in front of the camera and they were just like, yeah, no, you girl.
They thought the energy was something else.
And I think some people have like that natural talent and like you have to recognize and do an audit of like what it is that you're passionate about, what it is that people see in you that you may not.
Or you always get asked like, all the things.
So I love like, if you guys are not in on the joke, like I will never answer what airline I work for. It will not happen. And the reason is bigger and it's so much bigger than what most people think it is. And I also like when people ask, like they be, oh, do you work for United? Do you work for Delta? Do you work for Spirit? Who do you work for? I think I get United a lot because, you know, the dress is blue. But I'm like, guys, I can't license United's uniform. I can't take that and pitch that to a brand. I cannot make a full campaign. When I was talking earlier,
and a lot of your branded stuff isn't this.
Yes,
and if it was someone else, you could not.
And like when I see it. It's scary. You professional folks, and this is like I see it on the flight attendant sector. Flight attendants doing brand deals in their employee provided, their employer provided uniform, and like that makes me shake. Like that makes me like deep sigh so hard because like from an HR perspective, y'all, like that you can't even plead ignorance. Like that is something that like they can very well like terminate you on the spot. And I just want you guys to be wiser. And like, again, this is why like I'm focusing my next few weeks on flushing out this professional to influencer online course because like it was so specific to aviation. And then after I did the talk, I was like, holy cow, forget about teachers. When somebody told me to teacher, I was like,
all the things.
Because like there's so many.
It's a government job.
It's a government job. And as a flight attendant, as flight attendants and pilots, we have cited clearances, right? So these are federal clearances, like the upkeep of background checks. Like I understand that you're trying to do your own thing, and I support you. I believe in you. I just want you to get smart about it. Put yourself in the corporate. And I'm not saying it's right. I'm not saying it's right, but I always say chess, not checkers. My entire life, I feel like the reason why I've been successful in a lot of things is because I don't look at my weak point and ignore it. I'm only as strong as my weakest point. So if potentially getting fired will put me out of the running of being a content creator, I don't want to lose the job. So I need to learn what the rules are so I can abide by them. Now, that doesn't mean that your company won't change that.
Of course not.
But
did you like design this look? Is this like something?
No, I'm gonna drop this Amazon link. I swear, I'm gonna drop this link. I had to make what is that?
And you're on a branded kind, right? Like a merch.
I will, but this is y'all. Okay, now you're gonna hold me accountable. I've been saying this for like 3 years. This dress is from Amazon.
I love it. I love it.
You get one. You get one. You get one. And like, and it's so funny because like in 2020 when I was having these conversations, I was like doing my first like brand. I was like, okay, the internet has named me. I didn't pick Flight Bay. They put that on me.
I love that.
I was like, yo, I don't even use the word Bay. And then they're like, no, like they're
that's who you are.
Yeah, because it was a Dr. Bay at the time, a lawyer Bay. And then they're like, oh, and you're Flight Bay. And I was like, no, I'm Brenda.
Yeah.
Right, Brenda. And they're like, no, you're Flight Bay. And I was like, okay, you know what? What a gift it is to have the internet give you a name. Right? Like you don't have to sit there and think of what works or will this work. They were like, no, you're Flight Bay. And I was like, okay.
Is your audience like people who just they're travel lovers? Because I've seen your tips, but again, they're not. I know you have Crew Connect, but let's talk about the IG audience and stuff, because you work with a lot of brands now.
Yeah.
I'm sure and that's the thing I really want to talk about here, because this is called creator currency, right? Currency, paid, worth, value, all of that.
And you have to be strategic if you're going to turn a profit, because like there's a lot of energy on the front end as a creator. We all know like you're not making these big checks straight out of the gate. So let's be for real.
Yeah.
I've been in this space as a creator since 2010. It is 2023.
Yeah.
And you are watching this right now and you're saying to yourself, I'm just finding out about this girl. I love that because it's a new day. But there was so much work in preparation and strategy. Like I had to make decisions. Like, am I going to be a flight attendant YouTube blogger where I vlog in uniform about my day-to-day life as a flight attendant? I was like, while that is interesting, that is not sustainable. So we're not even going to start to make our bed like that, because you don't want to switch up on your audience later on. So I was like, if you find
your stuff is so evergreen, you could do a whole course stuff. Like you could do anything.
The flight attendant course where like I teach you how to become like, and it's 100% free, right? As far as like the entry, everything that you need to know about how to become a flight attendant, what it looks like, the requirement, that information I put into a course. It is so evergreen because the information, I don't like to talk twice. I'm going to give you guys the same game and let you guys know what it is that worked for me, right? And the reason why I'm going to be completely honest is because people who are looking at me, I know what you're looking at me for. You are a professional in some industry, whether it's aviation, legal, finance, medical professional. Listen here. I want you to know that there is a pathway where you can be the flight bay or the nurse bay or whatever it is that you want to be for your industry, but you just have to be wiser than your peers. You cannot hop on every trend. You can't do everything. And you need to really, really be familiar with what your policies are and what you can and cannot do at your job. You cannot look at what somebody else is doing at like, even from airline to airline, like when flight attendants come to me like, oh my God, like I want to be flight bay like you. My opening is, please know that don't just blindly follow. Because you might lose your job doing that. Because no, I'm being serious.
It's true though.
One girl, one of my girlfriends, she calls and she's like, hey, like I want to do this television gig. And she was like, and I was like, you can't do that. And she's like, well, and she actually got upset with me until I explained. I was like, you can't do that. And she's like, well, you did Business Insider. And I was like, yes. I'm so glad you brought that up. What did they list me as on Business Insider? Did they list me as flight attendant at such and such airline or now? This was my old trick back in 2016. I used to say flight attendant for a major airline. I see the girls are catching on to that. That no longer saves you. That's dead. Stop doing that.
So now what is
now you just can't say you're a flight, because like the whole thing is like HR is gonna call you in there and they're gonna pull that string and be like, yeah, you're a flight attendant for a major airline, meaning the only reason why they're talking to you is because of us. I had a bunch of other things of my skills. Number one, these HR meetings, I know these people were sick of me, but I was a flight attendant before you guys. You're not the only reason, right? So if you were only with one airline, you can't say that. Then I wasn't being interviewed for being a flight attendant. I was being interviewed for being the owner of Aviation's first social club. That's not being a flight attendant. There were so many loopholes and so many things that like me and my legal team had to strategize on how I can still take advantage of these opportunities, but not be in the negative with my job, that there was an investment on my part. So I would never just tell anybody what you see me do, you can do at your airline or your company, because it's not the same. This is why I always preach looking at your social media policies and looking at that on a monthly, if not quarterly basis, because depending on your airline or
any job,
depending on your, I'm so sick of me. I learned all of this, y'all, and the reason why I keep saying airline.
What you're applying goes for everyone.
It really does, because you don't know. Check, guys. Like, they don't always have to notify you that they make certain changes. You have to be diligent because you're the one that's looking to do something wrong.
So one thing I really want to talk about, Brenda, is as a professional, like I think what I'm getting from today's episode is whether you are, again, in aviation or any other professional industry, how do we navigate these murky waters when it comes to having this job and developing an online brand and an online persona and being creative and posting and all of that. A big way creators are monetizing, as you know, and I saw on your page, so I know you are too, is the brand deals, right? There's a lot of brand deals happening. And I would love to kind of, first of all, pick your brain, because I'm making an assumption, so correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm making an assumption that your brand deals are only going up, like you're doing more and more. So this is now becoming something that like you are offering, like it's part of the offer now. And in terms of like, one thing that me and you talked about was what happens when your brand deal money starts to either equal your salary or outdo your salary. I know this happens a lot. I have nurses in my community. I have a lot of like people that are in, again, these positions.
Professional spaces.
Yeah. And they're seeing their brand deals kind of like, whoa, there's money to be made here.
And it's almost always accidental because all of us in the professional space 100% intended for our professional careers to be our primary source of income, you know, for the entirety of our careers. So this new thing, which is influencing and like, you know, all of that came into play and it really kind of turned it on its shoulder, right? I'm getting paid more to talk about being a flight attendant than I do from actually being a flight attendant. And that's a beautiful place to be. But it takes a lot of work to get there. And once that happens, I can unequivocally tell you, you're probably also having HR issues.
Yeah, because you're getting to that area that
and
they're seeing
they know, and like
partnership.
Bro, I'm gonna say, like, honestly, like they know before like you really realize it, right? And like, because like outside looking in, you don't know 100% what an influencer is making. So in my case, I think because like my brand was so polished or whatever, people thought I was making money from influencing well before I ever was.
And I appreciate that transparency.
Yeah. And I was like, no, I'm just my mother's child. Like I'm into this style, this aesthetic. This is just, you know, and I have other sources of income and like I live a comfortable life. So like I can see how like you think was like, no, I will show you my baby pictures. Yeah, that's always been the standard, right?
Yeah.
So I think for me, it happened a little bit earlier where people thought I was making more money. But then when I did start making money, I was like,
like I want to keep doing that.
Yeah, I want to keep doing that. And then like I'm Haitian, like we're gonna bring the good news to all of our friends. So like if I learn something and like I have my flight attendant friends, like shout out to Merv, love you girl. Whatever is working for me, I'm gonna let them know like, hey, like this brand like just paid me X amount, so this is what you should be asking for or whatever. So when that starts to happen, if that wasn't your plan and you just find yourself in that situation, I want you to like really clap and applaud yourself for a job well done. But I also want you, if you had not done so already, to go and either take a meeting with your HR, your upper management to review your file. And then I want you to pull your social media policies and all of your business policies, because some companies don't allow you to be an entrepreneur while you're working for them. We saw that with Any Given Sunday. Any, she's the lawyer that was terminated. The basis of her termination was that basically they don't want you splitting your focus. They put this in legalese where you can't have a side business.
Yeah, it's called moonlighting.
Right, you can't be moonlighting. But it's like, what about the people who have rental properties? What about this? Nobody cares. I want you to know nobody cares. But once you are making enough money where I'm saying consistently, this is happening for 6 months or more, where you're getting these major brand deals, I want you to know that people at your company are pissed. They are not happy. And I hate that, but like I want you to know that this is a necessary part of ascension.
Yeah. And how do people know when to make that leap? Like I have a lot of people in my community that they're getting some brand deals. They still have their job and they want to do the brand. They want to do the influencing.
Stay until you get fired. Hey, like, don't quit. Don't quit. And like, keep going. Don't quit. Do not quit until you've completely replaced your income and then some. There's a specific figure that I had that I wrote down that like I wasn't gonna leave.
If I don't make this,
I'm not leaving. Now, what I can say is you can write down whatever you want. That company gonna fire you. Eventually, they're gonna fire you. And I want you, and the reason why I'm making a lot of it, I know it sounds scary and I know it sounds daunting, but education and knowledge is power. And once you know that this is a possibility, you prepare yourself for it, right? So you want to make sure that the money's there and that you are pouring enough into your influencer business that it is a sustainable income, and it's not just one. It's not just you relying 100% on brand deals. Have, you know, a product that you're selling, have affiliates, have, you know, become an influencer, be in its fullness, right? Don't half step it. And as you're preparing for that, make sure you're keeping a paper trail, because depending on how your company handles it, you may be, you know, they may be sloppy and you might be able to sue for wrongful termination. And these are the real things like
major conversations. No one
as professionals, like get a lawyer, have your, because if you're a professional, we're not talking about influencers who are starting from zero, right?
No,
if you're a professional,
full-time
you have a job. So if you have a job, if you're getting a paycheck, at any kind of paycheck, whether it's once a month, twice a week, I mean, twice a week. Yeah, well, as an influencer, it will be twice a week.
Yeah.
But whatever you're getting paid, invest in yourself. And what that investment looks like for a professional is legal advice. Because you want to have a legal professional to look over your specific documents as it relates to your position at your company, because there might be different rules. For example, at the company that I worked for, there's different rules for, you know, the different sectors. Flight attendants can do this, but, you know, pilots cannot. Pilots can do this, flight attendants cannot. So you want to make sure that you're not getting secondhand information from people who have not been in your situation.
Important facts.
Yeah.
I think you've dropped a lot of words of wisdom to those that have these full-time jobs, but any sort of, I think now you're in a space that the brand deals they're flowing in. They're flowing in, and God willing, they continue to, right? God willing, they continue to, and this is a space that you know, where your brand is. But for those that are listening, excited, inspired, maybe nervous, any sort of like words of info or motivation, you know, I want people to also see that. I think I speak for myself, but like the creator economy is very fruitful, very advantageous. There's a lot. This is a true career, a true business.
Don't be scared.
Yeah.
Like, guys, like I am one of like, I'm Haitian. I am from South Florida. I believe in having a job.
Okay.
I truly and thoroughly, deep down in my soul, doctor, lawyer, engineer, believe in having a job. And to be in a space where my influencing is my primary source of income because it's swelled, right? Mm-hmm. Know that it's possible, and know that if people are coming to you for this information, it is valuable information, whether or not you recognize the value in it. Mm-hmm. Because I feel like as professionals, because we paid so much to get our different skill sets, we almost feel like, oh no, like, you know.
Imposter syndrome.
Yeah, imposter. Y'all.
Yeah.
You really don't want that imposter syndrome to like steal a dream life from you. So get serious and be intentional in ignoring the problem or ignoring what you can and can't do in your situation. As a professional is only going to lead you to heartbreak. There is a pathway where you can be a professional and an influencer, whether or not your company likes it, and you still leave on top. This is something that I'm so passionate about, and something that I experienced firsthand. And I feel like a lot of the strategy that I implemented before I started doing anything is what saved me in the end, because there's just certain things I never participated in because I was so well versed on what I could and cannot do within my role within my company.
This is amazing. Where can everyone connect with you and find you on all the things? I'll drop the link.
Right. And let people know. You guys can find me on Instagram and TikTok. It's at flightbay.b. And then you can find me online at www.flightbayb.com. And YouTube, Flight Baby.
Yes, I think YouTube's going to be the next.
I think
the 2024 goals for YouTube.
Yeah. Honestly, I feel like you're like a new accountability partner, especially that I know where you live. So
now I'm going to make sure you get it done. Thank you so much.
Yes, thank you for asking me.